single day. So what would you say? Would you try to let your family know how much you love them? Would you try to take the burden off someone that they've been feeling for a long time? Would you find that person that you've always wanted to meet and go meet them, right, and have lunch with them? And that's a very preachery thing to do. Like, if you ever want to meet a preacher, just say, hey, let's go to lunch, and boom, we're there. Food, it always works really good. That's Jesus's experience in John 16. He's in the final moments of his present life, about to face a very terror-filled, horrific end. And he knows it. He knows it. He knows it's coming, that this is upon him. His whole life has been building up to his departure on the cross. From the point of his birth, he knew that's what he was here to do. And so he has very little time left with those that are closest to him, his dearly loved disciples. And what does he say to them? What does he say to them? Well, that's what we've been looking at over the past few weeks. Right? He told them, I'm not going to leave you orphaned. I'm going to send a helper to you. I'm going to send my Spirit to not only be with you, and we're going to talk about this more today, but to be in you, to help you, to advocate for you, to challenge you when you need that too. He tells them, in my absence, love for one another is going to be key to everything. If you want to see me still living among you, you got to love one another. As the church, as the community of faith. That when the world looks on at the way you love each other, it is radical and it is incomparable with anything else we see in the world. And they will be changed because of how you love one another. They will be changed by how you love one another. And then at the end of last week and leading into this week, he also gives them a warning. So what is Jesus doing? Well, what we all would do, right? He's comforting them. He's encouraging them. He's making provision for them in his physical absence. He's allowing them, and he is, right, allowing them to smell the roses while they're still with him. And he gives them a warning, as I think we all would do to those that we love. There are challenges, there are threats, there are difficulties in this life we face. And a good person, a good friend, a good parent warns those that they love about those perils. And so Jesus says, when you take this way of life that I am living for you and leading you into, when you take that on as your own, when you have a radical kingdom life, when you really believe and live like Jesus meant, and like what he would say, I meant, turn the other cheek. A radical kingdom life that says, no, meekness is not weakness, but meekness is actually the better path forward. When you live this radical kingdom life that says, despite all aridity and struggle and persecution in this world, I'm going to choose to love one another anyways. I'm going to choose to believe in Jesus despite my present circumstances anyways. When you take that on as your call to life, Jesus says the world's going to hate you for it because they don't understand it. And it threatens them because they don't have that. It doesn't conform to their power structure paradigm by which all of our society wants to operate on. No, I want power. No, I want power. It's like a great tug of war between all opposing sides. And if you don't have a side to tug of war with, come up with some new thing to kind of critique someone on, and boom, automatically you have a tug-of-war partner. So even if there's no problems, we'll create one, right? We'll fabricate one so that we get our way. That's not new. I mean, that's on the news every day, but that's not new. That's happened for millennia. And Jesus says, when you become my disciple, and when you take on my way of life, you step outside of that. You release all that. You leave all that behind. There's a better way forward. Better way. But it's not going to be easy because people are going to hate you for it. Verse 1 of chapter 16. These things I have spoken to you. Again, he's using you in the plural sense, right? You all, or y'all, his disciples, and as extension the church, so that you may be kept from stumbling. You know, it's an interesting thing, that word stumbling there. It's scandalizo, which I know doesn't really matter, but the word means to be sort of, it's a failure of faith causing one to discontinue being in it. Okay? It's a failure so deep, this stumbling that he's talking about is a failure so deep that it causes you to want to say, I'm walking away from the way of faith. I'm walking away from that life. You know, it's like the parable of the seed and the sower. Jesus is talking about, some was sowed on rocky soil. You know, it had nowhere to root. Had nowhere to root. It had no sure footing. How can we, as disciples, walk on a sure path? How can we have sure footing so that that is not said of us? They will make you outcast from the synagogue, but an hour is coming for everyone who kills you to think that he is offering service to God. These things they will do because they have not known the Father or me. But these things I have spoken to you, so that when their hour comes, you may remember that I told you of them. These things I did not say to you at the beginning, because I was with you. He's saying, when I was with you, I kept you with me safe, but I'm leaving in the physical presence. And the persecution is going to intensify. You know, sometimes when we hear that word persecution, we kind of think, well, that was something that they did in the Middle Ages, right? That's some sort of Stone Age idea, that's something. Well, whether you realize it or not, our little corner of the world is not the world. We kind of live in fantasy land here. You know, we're really comfortable. I mean, we live in pain and we have struggles, and not to undermine any of that. It's hard. Life is hard here. I want to be honest about that. But not hard in the way that other parts of the world have it hard. Okay. And right now in China, the Chinese authorities, I just want to kind of let you get a little glimpse of this so you kind of get a little bit of reality check for what it means to be a Christian in the world. The Chinese authorities are right now locating where all of these people are meeting in Christian gatherings, and they're putting facial recognition technologies and cameras at those locations. So that every person who walks into one of those gatherings, they can identify who they are, and they can ostracize them, either threatening their jobs or, if they continue to persevere, their life. Just for meeting together like this. Okay? Right now, happening in China. In Eritrea, which you may not have ever heard of, but it's a small African country, they are trying to eradicate Christianity from the country completely. So their preferred means of doing so is there's a small island off the coast of Eritrea, and what they're doing is they're finding all these people who are Christians, they're picking them up, and they're taking them on a boat and dropping them off on this island. There's no buildings there. There's no food there. There's nothing there. Okay? Like, nothing. So what's going to eventually happen is these people are going to starve to death. Just because they said, I love Jesus. Just because they said, I love one another. How terrifying 7 words are to authority. Jesus told us, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to leave in my physical presence, but I'm going to prepare you for this, and I'm going to let you know this is what you're going to expect. We kind of get upset if we talk to someone about Jesus and they kind of get frustrated at us. And that's not unimportant. That's opposition in a way. That's still evil work. But that's not that level of persecution. This didn't just happen in the 1st century or in the 5th century or in the 16th century. This is happening in the 21st century. And all our technological advancements are doing is aiding the persecution efforts. They're not making us more civilized. They're giving us newer, better toys to do persecution with. I'm not beating up on technology. I'm just giving you the state of where this is worldwide. You know, there's more slavery in the world today than there ever has been in history. Not just Christians, but across the board. Reality check, right? And you might think, well, Jesus, it's nice of you to say, like, hey, I'm leaving and then you're going to have to deal with this. Where are you going to be? Where are you going to be at in this difficulty that you're going to be facing as a believer? He says, I'll be as close to you as your very breath. I will be right there experiencing it within you. Verse 5. Let's continue reading. But now I am going to him who sent me, and none of you asked me, where are you going? But because I have said these things to you, sorrow has filled your heart. But I tell you the truth, it is to your advantage that I go away. I think I've relayed this in the past few weeks, but really, Jesus? Is it to my advantage that you leave me? But God in his depths of wisdom says yes. Because Jesus as a person is incarnate, right? He's confined. He's confined to flesh. He's confined to some of the same limitations that you and I have, right? Meaning space. He can only be in one space at one time. That's a very fleshly thing. I mean, we try to do different things through our technology, and maybe we can broadcast ourselves to many places at one time, but we can only physically be present at one place at one time. Jesus says, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to send you my Spirit. It is to your advantage that I go away, verse 7. For if I do not go away, the Helper will not come to you. But if I go, I will send him to you. It's to our advantage because the Holy Spirit isn't just with us in physical presence, as if only me and Jesus have time, and he'll get to you here in a minute when he's done with me, right? The Holy Spirit is equal opportunity. He's within all of us as believers at the same time doing the same work, and it doesn't exhaust him. So it's to our advantage that Jesus left, because now Jesus not only is with us in his physical presence, he is living within us to empower us to live this life. And I think so often we're just like, man, I just got to do this on my own. I just got to pull myself up by my bootstraps and kind of grin and bear it and somehow get through it. Man, how hard you make it on yourself when you do that. You can do it that way. Many people do. And you can have some limited measure of effectiveness by doing that. It's just all power struggle again. It's all just world ways. God says, I'm putting my Spirit in you to help you. It's going to help you. It's better for you that I leave, because I don't want to just be with you anymore. I want to live in your life. And when he comes, verse 8, will convict the world concerning sin and righteousness and judgment. Concerning sin, because they do not believe in me. And concerning righteousness, because I go to the Father and you no longer see me. And concerning judgment, because the ruler of this world has been judged. I have many more things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now. But when he, the Spirit of truth, comes, he will guide you into all the truth. For he will not speak on his own initiative. But whatever he hears, he will speak, and he will disclose to you what is to come. He will glorify me, for he will take of mine and will disclose it to you. All things that the Father has are mine. Therefore I said that he takes care of mine. He takes of mine and will disclose it to you. So what does the Spirit do then? If the Spirit is living in our lives, and Jesus says it's to your advantage that I leave so that I can send him, what does he do? Well, he helps, he advocates, he counsels, right? Paraclete, that's the term there in the Greek that's used. All those things he does, and more. You know, really interesting, the only other time that's used all throughout Scripture is in Luke. And it's when Mary and Martha, Martha's trying to get Mary to help her. Right? One has in mind like, hey, help me move some furniture so that Jesus is coming. The Spirit helps us in very tangible and physical ways. So he helps us, he advocates, he counsels, he also convicts. And convict is not used in the sense like we might think of it today as we often use it. But it's a means of moving us further into truth. And boy, do we need that today. I think it was the 2016 Oxford Dictionary referred to our age as the age of post-truth. That's a scary place to be, isn't it? Post-truth. Because anything goes. If you want to know how that turns out, go read the book of Judges and read it from front to the end. It ends by saying, and everyone did, with a really graphic story that I'm not going to recount right now, and then everyone did what was right in their own eyes. That's scary. Welcome to the 21st century. And Jesus said, this Spirit that I'm putting in you, he'll lead you, right? He'll guide you into this truth. He will show you my justice and righteousness. He will guide you. But the interesting thing is, he will not speak on his own initiative. I have heard people say that they believe that the Spirit told them that it was okay to commit adultery. I've heard people say that the Spirit told them that it was okay to go and do some pretty destructive things. That's not the Spirit. You're listening to the wrong one, okay? The Bible says test the spirits, right? Test the spirits. I've heard people say that the Spirit, my favorite one, is a college student that I knew of who said the Spirit would wake him up every morning for class. The best part of that is he was late every day. He was late every day. So either he just wasn't really good at understanding what the Spirit was saying, or the Spirit was playing tricks on him. And that's not what we hear of the Spirit in the Bible. Right here, what does the Spirit do? What does the Spirit do? Well, he will guide you into all the truth, for he will not speak on his own initiative, but whatever he hears, he will speak and will disclose to you what is to come. He will glorify me, for he will take of mine and disclose it to you. So what does the Spirit do? He points to Jesus. It's better for you that I leave, Jesus says, because the Spirit's going to be inside each one of you. He will point you to me. He'll show you what I'm calling you to. He'll show you the way. He will empower you to do that. You're not going to be left here as orphans. You're going to have me right here as close as your own breath. And all things that the Father has are mine. Therefore, I said, he takes of mine and will disclose it to you. Another interesting thing here is that it says here, verse 14, he will glorify me. I want to look back a couple chapters just a bit to John chapter 13. John chapter 13. Therefore, when he had gone out, Jesus said, now is the Son, this is verse 31, John 13, verse 31. Now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself and will glorify him immediately. Interesting thing about this, he said, little children, I'm with you just a little while longer. So he's still preparing them a couple chapters back for what's about to happen. And he says, within this triune nature of God is this glorification of the other. God is not selfish. We talk about that our ultimate aim as people is to glorify God and enjoy him forever. Well, some people say, well, that makes God like a self-centered or something of that nature. No, because even within God's own nature, it's all self-giving. The Father glorifies the Son glorifies the Spirit glorifies the Son, and round and round and around this goes. Complete emptiness. Complete selflessness. And he says, you're going to benefit from it. He'll take everything that is mine and will disclose it to you. So that when you encounter those difficult moments, when you encounter that persecution, when you have struggles in your life, when you have difficulties in whatever way, he will point you to Jesus. He'll point you to me, Jesus is saying. A little while, and you will no longer see me. And again, a little while, and you will see me. And then I want to end, and I want to kind of read down to verse 20, 22, and then we're going to kind of stop there. Some of his disciples then said to one another, what is this thing he is telling us? A little while, and you will see me, and again a little while, and you will see me, and you will see me, and because I go to the Father. So they were saying, what is this that he says, a little while? We did not know what he was talking about. Jesus knew that they wished to question him. Because, let's be honest, he's speaking a little bit in kind of shrouding his language. He's not just explicitly telling them every detail. He's just trying to prepare them for what's to come. And that's the way he works, doesn't it? We want to know, okay, Jesus, I want you to tell me what I'm going to do today and tomorrow and 10 years from now and 15 years from now, and I want you to just map it all out for me, and then I will trust you and I'll follow you and do it. Yeah, just give me the plan. I'm a planner, so give me the plan, And Jesus isn't really doing that. He said, I'm preparing your heart for my plan that I have for you. Do you trust me? Do you trust me? Jesus knew that they wished to question him, and he said to them, are you deliberating together about this, that I said a little while and you will not see me, and again a little while and you will see me? Very truly I say to you, that you will weep and lament, but the world will rejoice. You will grieve. Remember what he said in verses 1 through 4? You're going to be outcast in the synagogue. Everyone who kills you is going to think that he's offering service to God. You're going to encounter really harsh things in this life. And he says here, these harsh things are about to be a real present reality for you as my disciples. And you're going to weep and you're going to lament, and the world is going to rejoice. Because the world thinks it's won. But your grief will be turned into joy. Whenever a woman is in labor, she has pain because her hour has come. But when she gives birth to the child, she no longer remembers the anguish because of the joy that the child has been born into the world. Therefore, you too have grief now, but I will see you again, and your heart will rejoice, and no one will take your joy away from you. That's worth ending on right there. You don't see me right now. All you see is hardship. All you see is pain. All you see is struggle. All you see is a deeply wounded world. And when you lament over this, because of our brokenness, because of our sin, because of just the weight of the world's going to rejoice. They're going to rejoice in the very things you're weeping and lamenting over. Stay steadfast. Don't give up. Never give up on hope. Because if you hold on to hope with everything within you, a lot of things can be taken away from us in this life, can't they? Your house can be taken away. Your car, your job, your health, your family, your finances. It doesn't matter how secure you think you are in this life, everything can be taken away. Unfortunately, sometimes even our minds. And there's not one single thing that there's sometimes it's of our own making, right? Sometimes we create our own messes. Sometimes there's not one single thing we can do about it. But Jesus says, if you stick with me, you'll have a joy that exceeds all that. And it won't be taken from you. It's one thing that will not leave you. It will not be stripped from you. And the beautiful thing about it is that joy is not temporary like all these other things that can be taken away. It's eternal. This morning, I don't know what you're dealing with, and I don't know what's going on with you. But all I know is this. Our faith is most grounded when it's rooted in the Spirit's work in our lives. Jesus has not left you as an orphan. He's given you the very power you need to do life. Allow him to do that work in you. Allow yourself to experience joy. I think a lot of times we strip ourselves of that very joy that he wants to bestow. Because those are the two things. His Spirit living within us and this joy that's unbounded that will never be stripped from us. And it will go on forever. If you've never encountered Jesus in that way and you want to have that real relationship with him, he calls you to come and follow him, and we can help you to know what that looks like and how to begin that journey. And if you have and said, you know what, I've just, in so many ways, I've just kind of stripped myself of that joy. And I've not allowed the Spirit to come in and have rule over my heart. I've had rule of my heart. One word. It's the hardest, easiest thing you'll ever do. Submission. Submit to his work in your life. And when you do, you will have joy unbounded. Whatever you need, if you would feel comfortable coming forward and talking to the church family, or if you just need to pull us aside afterwards to talk about anything, we're here for you as we stand and sing.